Message. From 2046, humanity's last broadcast. Engineers cross the gravel, between vast dishes, under hard noon Sunday. A dish rotates, alignment ticks confirm an eerie synchronicity. Sirens begin from the mast. The engineers share a quick glance. Close on a vest patch, as dust lifts, and the ground vibrates subtly. The field moves as one, geometry turns toward an unseen horizon. Decoded text crawls, a stark warning unfolds across the main screen. A young operator turns pale, fingers tightening around a headset. Envoy leans closer. The message's cadence suggests intention. Hands hover over a pause control. Nobody dares to stop it. The room settles into silence as the final words burn in memory. Officials take seats as a suspended holomap hums into clarity. Close on the red node tagged, Source, 2046 within orbital threads. Officials confer in low tones, tablets casting pale glows. Envoy rises, studying the node as trajectories knot around it. A decision looms as the room absorbs the meaning of 2046. Elena strides through glass corridors as locks unlatch ahead. An assistant keeps pace, offering a slate of spectral graphs. Close on the slate, peaks cluster around a flagged window. Elena nods, eyes forward, doors bloom open in sequence. The corridor narrows toward a threshold, work awaits beyond. Elena enters the spectral bay, eyes fixed on the glowing coils. She fine-tunes alignment, hands steady despite the stakes. The senior researcher flags 2046, urging a second look. Elena syncs the timeline arc with the coil's field. She locks parameters, the coils hum with contained power. The envoy and Elena face each other across the dark table. The projection reveals a temporal route, not interstellar space. Elena studies interference nodes and narrows her analysis. The envoy challenges feasibility. Elena holds her ground. Conclusion: the message came through time. Action is required. Elena launches cascading simulations across the suite. Analysts track thresholds as branches veer toward collapse. Elena isolates a survivable branch and refines parameters. The suite watches a promising path buckle under scarcity. Elena flags constraints and prepares a revised scenario set. Marcus stands beneath the chrono-runner's sleek hull, assessing. The ground chief salutes as systems come alive. Marcus inspects the temporal rings and checks clearance. A low harmonic resonance builds through the hangar air. Final glance exchanged with the crew before the next phase. Marcus studies the deck layout as Elena brings up risk matrices. She highlights thresholds. He notes contingencies. A countdown clock starts, tightening the window. Marcus and Elena exchange a pact of readiness. They turn to the deck, synchronized at the count. ORA appears beside Marcus as the cockpit glows with quiet systems. Marcus checks harness tension and scans the temporal vectors. ORA projects thresholds, aligning the jump corridor ahead. Marcus acknowledges, centering the craft within the corridor. Final checks: time vector locked, paradox thresholds nominal. Technicians lock the cradle as the tunnel lights prime in order. Ring arrays spin up, air shimmering around the nacelles. Control boards flash green, clearance passes down the line. The craft aligns on magnetic rails, guidance lasers steady. Ignition sequence confirmed. The tunnel strobes in cadence. Mission control tracks the bending trajectory in hushed focus. A controller marks the countdown toward the arrival stamp. The envoy narrows focus, noting a ripple along the line. Across the tiers, heads lift as the vector steadies again. Hold course. The envoy signals with a slight measured nod. Stars stretch into chromatic arcs around the cockpit canopy. ORA stabilizes shear with a precise vector correction. The cockpit stretches subtly, geometry flexing under stress. Marcus braces, keeping the nose aligned through the flux. Phase with intolerance. Aura confirms, arcs thinning outside. The chrono runner bursts from low cloud into a gray dawn. Broken towers rise like ribs from the mist-choked horizon. The craft banks, revealing inundated districts and empty piers. Distant gulls circle. The wind carries only damp, cold air. The ship levels out, setting course inland toward the city. They step onto the fractured deck as ash sweeps across abandoned cars. Elena sweeps the sampler, watching unstable readings spike and jitter. Marcus checks structural gaps, mapping a safe return path. She compares emissions to the timeline signatures they're chasing. Their path is set. The wind carries a taste of salt and soot. On the city's rim, ruin stretches toward a horizon of dust and glass. 3 scavengers watch from afar, unreadable behind mirrored visors. A gust reveals warning stencils: hazard, collapse, unstable grid. Reflections ripple in broken panels, warping the empty streetscape. The watchers fade back, leaving the district to its quiet ruin. A cracked fountain anchors a plaza veiled in pale, drifting fog. Light thickens, an outline coalesces on the fountain lip. Elena advances carefully, as Marcus arcs wide to cover angles. The apparition stabilizes, texture like ripples frozen in glass. Elena halts within reach, eyes steady. Marcus finds his angle. Images bloom in the air as the messenger addresses Elena directly. Supply wars surge to life, then recede like a punished memory. Marcus steps in beside her, tension held tight in his jaw. Silent oceans and empty piers hover, accusing, above the basin. Elena's gaze hardens. This is not a warning, it's a record. A dust-choked platform descends to a vault, sealed by welded bars. Elena kneels at a humming obelisk half buried in powdery dust. The pulse matches the warning's heartbeat beat for beat. She logs the match, sealing a thread back to the first message. Sunlight leaks through collapsed rafters onto shattered beds and torn blankets. An elderly survivor lifts a pendant, searching the wall for a name that matters. 4 survivors huddle together, sharing a single patched thermal blanket for warmth. A child's drawing, taped to a cabinet, shows a house and sun in bright crayon. Hands pass a cracked cup of water, an unspoken covenant to endure together. Storm clouds stack like black anvils as instruments chatter under plastic covers. Marcus locks a climbing line to the mast, jaw set against the building gale. Elena triangulates the beacon, eyes flicking between bearings and a pulsing trace. Lightning nets the horizon as Marcus signals. Elena nods, positions locked. They brace in unison as the wind veers. The beacon's tone steadies on target. Rain threads the ruined plaza where a cracked fountain anchors the empty square. The messenger splits into echoes, a circle of pale silhouettes coalescing in rain. Elena steps forward carefully as Marcus shifts to watch the flanks for threat. Each echo whispers a theme: responsibility, scarcity, hubris braided into one plea. Elena lifts her hand, steady. Marcus holds position, ready if this turns. Rain drums the corrugated roof, while tools and cables clutter the concrete floor. Marcus pries the panel wider as Aura paints a translucent maintenance overlay. Sparks spit as a faulty lead lifts. The repair path clarifies in thin lines. Connections seat home. The overlay turns green as the hum evens to a steady tone. Marcus exhales, closing the panel, as rain softens to a distant hiss outside. Stacks lean like tired giants. Ash dusts the air in bands of cold daylight. Elena brushes soot from a physics text, revealing precise, stubborn equations. She aligns formulas with her device, cross-checking constants and drift margins. Power flickers, terminal ghosts awake, status bars crawling to erratic life. Elena snaps a photo of the page and the screen, securing a bridge between epochs. Marcus inspects the temporal rings while Elena outlines the extraction plan. Elena marks 2046 data targets as Marcus positions the craft for access. Marcus tests ring integrity. Elena checks sampler calibration. Elena briefs the route to the flooded archives. Marcus nods, ready. Marcus seals the hatch as gulls spiral over the drowned boulevard. Elena wades through shallow water toward the sealed vault door. A young guide lifts a lantern, pointing out a safe path around unstable shelves. Elena checks readings at a leaking conduit and adjusts her sampler settings. Guided by lantern light, Elena approaches the vault keypad and wipes standing water. Elena signals readiness to unlock, nodding toward the lantern-bearing guide. Elena links her sampler to a humming cube on a raised pedestal. AI-ORA's holographic decoder fans out above the cube, patterns aligning. Elena initiates transfer as arcs leap like silk between contact rails. ORA synchronizes interference patterns. Elena watches a clean stream lock. Elena secures the cube and detaches, nodding at ORA's stable checksum. The outskirts stretch bleak, half-buried trucks, and distant strike plumes. Marcus and Elena cross the scar, scanning emissions near a wreck. A close look at the drone shows scars and a broken sensor mast. Elena indicates residual signatures. Marcus notes safe approach routes. They move on, silhouettes small against the silent, scarred plain. Marcus walks among toppled towers as Elena records faint emissions. A skewed nacelle reveals stripped gears and scorched wiring. Elena traces a clean reading. Marcus points out a safe retrieval path. They move under a blade's shadow, small against the stark field. Elena logs emissions. Marcus scans the horizon, planning next steps. AI-ORA calculates the return window, while Marcus monitors systems. Elena straps in behind them, resolve set for turbulence risk. Marcus and ORA cross-check vectors. Elena readies the data payload. Elena confirms payload integrity and nods forward to Marcus. ORA locks the window. Marcus sets hands to controls. Elena steels herself. Marcus and ORA align the return corridor. Elena straps in, resolute. Elena leans forward, declaring she will risk turbulence for the data. ORA projects risk zones. The window shrinks to a critical threshold. Marcus locks the aperture. Elena nods, sealing commitment. The cockpit flexes as Marcus grips the controls against rising shear. ORA warns of cascading paradox. Data flickers across the canopy. Fragments of the ruined future ghost against the cockpit glass. Marcus compensates. ORA dampens shear to keep the corridor intact. The corridor narrows. Elena steadies herself, trusting their control. The chrono runner materializes with heat ripples across hangar floors. The envoy watches, unblinking, as the last shimmer dissolves. Technicians step in, tools raised, heat still wavering. The craft settles. Air shimmers fade to clear, revealing skin and rings. The envoy opens the debrief. Elena sits opposite, ready to answer. Marcus sits aside, fists clenched, watching models spin up. 12 critical events illuminate. Paths fork in controlled symmetry. The envoy presses for details. Elena responds, unwavering. Elena maps vectors, while ORA flags zones of paradox risk. Aides place resource markers on hotspots as Elena refines paths. ORA isolates butterfly amplification nodes with crisp overlays. Marcus steps in, questioning a high-risk lever. Elena recalibrates. Neon-soaked rain sweeps a rooftop as Marcus sets a covert relay. Elena injects an early warning protocol from a remote console. Marcus positions the relay. Elena's signal threads through rain. The network accepts the protocol. City nodes blink alive. Rain lashes the rooftop as Elena initiates the early warning inject. Marcus anchors the covert relay, gauging line of sight across the district. Signal path confirmed. Elena calls, eyes narrowed at spiking nodes. She triggers the protocol, warning beacons handshake one by one. Marcus shields the relay, scanning for watchers in the storm glare. Cameras hum as the envoy approaches the podium at the hydro complex. The announcement lands, a decisive shift in global resilience funding. Two journalists trade stunned looks as figures update in real time. Metrics flash. Coastal barriers, microgrids, evacuation channels go green. The envoy holds the room, inviting accountability and rapid cooperation. Cold air spills from vents as Elena readies the quantum key. She slides the key home. ORA buries their trail in shifting signatures. A red camera LED blinks awake. Marcus watches the corridor mouth. Traffic masks propagate. Checksum trails dissolve into white noise. "We're clear," Elena whispers, sealing the case for a clean exit. Dim blue light carves their faces as the question hangs heavy. Elena weighs outcomes, the dossier's timelines branching in her mind. Marcus looks away, imagining lives saved and lines crossed. Between them, the empty chair suggests the absent lives at stake. A decision sharpens. They nod, burdened yet aligned for what follows. Morning sun gleams on new surge gates as engineers monitor readings. Sea energy slams the wall. The town behind remains dry and steady. On the deck, a helmeted pair confer, numbers spiking into safe bands. Beyond the barrier, streets glimmer, laundry flutters, a bell tolls noon. The test holds. Consequence measured. Benefit undeniable for now. Elena reviews branching futures in a rare moment of calm. AI-ORA joins, offering probabilities and quiet company. Sacrifices appear as icons fading at the edges of the map. Elena weighs duty against the intimate losses ahead. She closes the model, committing to the hardest path. ORA flags a dangerous amplification within policy networks. Maps flare, surveillance parameters drift beyond intent. ORA isolates the originating lever and its ripple horizon. Marcus orders containment before the window collapses. A timer appears. Containment must happen within minutes. Rain drips in the deserted station as they wait in shadow. The paradox buffer case waits between them like a verdict. Marcus confronts the cost of reversing their own work. They decide. Correct the overreach. Protect the principle. A distant train wind pulses. They rise with purpose. Elena assembles the buffer under cool lab lights. Phase coils hum as ORA stabilizes the field. Elena seats the core. Tiny sparks dance in the air. ORA flags a tolerance breach. Elena adjusts with care. The buffer stabilizes. A contained thunder purrs within. The envoy strides through marble halls with purpose. Rival delegates whisper as classified addenda glint. A close look. Amendments authorize urgent covert measures. Pushback sharpens. The envoy meets it with silence. Decision made. The envoy signs and moves on. Marcus steadies the console as ORA arms the 0.2-second back jump. ORA calibrates vectors. Marcus confirms sync to the cockpit clock. On Marcus's mark, the microjump initiates with surgical precision. For a heartbeat, two identical mugs occupy the same console. One cup fades like breath on glass. The other remains, solid and warm. At the array's edge, robots crawl over panels under a hard noon Sunday. Marcus checks telemetry, while Elena studies the output surge. Robotic claws fine-tune tilt, aligning rows to the sun with precision. Elena nods. Sector C achieves target yield as Marcus logs the change. The field settles into alignment. Output spikes clean and sustained. Envoy reviews the manifest as the harbor map blooms with green lanes. A maritime officer salutes. Authorization codes lock to the fleet. Drones rise from the docks, cargo cradles humming with readiness. Envoy tracks routes to drought zones, nodding once at the updates. The corridor opens, the first wave clears the harbor without delay. Fog drapes the river of lights as the rooftop waits, breath held. The messenger coalesces above the roofline as Elena steps forward. Marcus holds back a pace, scanning the surrounding rooftops. The entity turns, hinting at origins beyond human memory. Marcus steadies himself as the rooftop dims around their exchange. In a cooled chamber, Elena and 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗠 sift harmonics from the noise. 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗠 locks to faint background patterns, an ancient, steady rhythm. Elena notices the match. Message harmonics echo cosmic microwave irregularities. Threads line up like a chorus braided through time itself. They hold the pattern evidence of a universal signal across ages. Families gather under canopies, practicing calm, deliberate shelter routines. An instructor demonstrates radio use, ensuring every family understands channels. The siren test rolls across the sky as everyone checks head counts. Parents practice tarp setup, while kids learn to assemble water filters. The drill concludes with a coordinated, confident final readiness review. AI-ORA projects a shrinking window of stability over the operations table. Captain Hale studies the trend, eyes narrowing as numbers tick down. Elena enters with a compact device, determination set in her posture. She presents the buffer, outlining a final correction before collapse. Decision made. Deploy the buffer and thread the narrow chance. Inside the cockpit, lights dim as the vessel readies for a precision jump. Captain Hale straps in, every motion deliberate and economical. Elena settles behind them, resolve written in the set of her jaw. AI-ORA opens the aperture, a dark iris widening beyond the glass. Final check. Voices low, intent absolute, the jump now inevitable. The overpass shimmers with rain as the chrono runner phases into position. Hale kneels by the node, shielding the buffer from the sheets of rain. Elena inputs a time delay, fingers steady despite the cold. Headlights smear, time jitters along the lanes like a nervous pulse. The buffer locks, a clean, invisible stitch closes over the node. Inside the chrono runner, time stills, raindrops hang like glass beads. Elena reaches forward, choosing a single coordinate with surgical care. 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗠's calibration holds, keeping fractures from widening at the margins. She threads the change. A single glyph flips from error to resolved. Time resumes on a hairline cue, the cabin intact, the thread secured. Morning light spills over a boulevard reborn from ruin. A child rings a bell, weaving past new saplings. Birdsong floats as street murals catch the light. A tram hums past new solar lamps and benches. Where sirens once howled, the city breathes again. Models stabilize as sunlight pours into the atrium. Marcus leans beside her, relief tempered by gravity. A convergence arc turns from amber to calm green. They share a quiet look. The work has only begun. A single graph plateaus, serene as a heart at rest. Marcus stands alone on the high bridge, city below. A message blinks, a friendship that never formed. He looks outward, weighing the trade he cannot undo. A drone passes, indifferent, the world moving on. He pockets the past and walks into the gray light. Under the dome, the stars hang like coated embers. ORA hovers nearby as harmonics thread the air. The entity hints at a mind older than humanity. Patterns align, a universal signal, echoed through ages. Elena absorbs the truth, small and steadfast under stars. At the cliff's edge, the sea brightens into tomorrow. They share a look, hope, and what it costs to earn it. A thin harmonic resolves, then yields to silence. Marcus steps closer, horizon wide as a promise. They face the day, the future open and unwritten,